Hello AP Biology students, we're going to be going over the 15th section in Unit 2. And in this section, we're going to go over types of receptors that we're going to see in cell communication. In cell communication, most water-soluble signaling molecules are going to bind to specific sites on the membrane known as receptor proteins. This is in order to create some cellular response within the cell. Typically, these ligands or these signaling molecules can't cross the membrane, so they have to attach to these membrane proteins and relay that message inside. The three main types that we're going to cover in this section are G protein coupled receptors, receptor tyrosine kinases, and ion channel receptors. The first type of receptor that we're going to cover is called a G protein receptor. Whenever the G protein binds with a ligand, it's going to become active by changing GDP to GTP. As you can see in our illustration, this G protein has bound to the signaling molecule, which activates it. This changes the GDP into something called GTP. Now, this protein is going to activate other proteins, which are then going to relay the message to create some cellular response within the cell. Our next type of receptor is called a ligand-gated ion channel. This is basically what it sounds like. There's going to be a ligand that bonds with a protein, and whenever it bonds, it's going to change its shape, allowing some molecule through. Think of this as being the ligand being the key to a gate, and once that gate is open, certain molecules are allowed into the cell. The last of these types of receptors are going to be called receptor tyrosine kinases. Whenever the ligand binds to these receptor molecules, what's going to happen is two of them are going to bond together to form something called a dimer. Whenever these two bond together and form that dimer, they're going to become phosphorylated. Now, all that means they're going to have phosphate groups attached. Once those phosphate groups are attached, other proteins can attach and become activated and create some cellular response. Another type of reception that goes on within the cell are through internal receptors. There are some non-polar ligands that can pass the membrane, for example, such as steroids and hormones. What these are going to do is they're going to cross the membrane and bind to a specific type of receptor within the cell. Typically, these receptions then activate some type of response within the nucleus to produce a protein. That can be a host of different things, but basically it's going to activate DNA to make RNA to make a protein. So the difference here is that the signaling molecule is going to cross the membrane instead of just attaching to a membrane protein. And like always, we have to end with a meme. Extracellular ligands, yeah, they just look in and see those intracellular receptors and they're never going to get there.